We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Silence! The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
And now, Reality Hits with Jason Bermas.
And who loves you? And who do you love?
Hey everybody, Jason Bermas here, and I'm just asking questions. And the main question we're going to ask today is, why in the world would the truth help terrorists? Yet, in the clip that we're about to watch and focus on, that is exactly what is being insinuated. Now, the clip we're going to look at is with this woman, and yes, I have it freeze framed on her crazy eyes for a reason, because what she insinuates is totally and completely insane. All right, now, people are telling me to watch the whole thing. People are saying to me, listen, I mean, this person is an outward warmonger. Look, I interview a lot of mainliners. All right. Dr. John A. Gentry is a guy that I've interviewed now twice, a CIA guy. And every time I put him on the spot about something that I think is important, I'll be honest about you. He doesn't want to answer it. He, uses the terminology you would expect. He stays away from any domestic issues, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I have long advocated that one of the central things that must be done if we want any chance whatsoever at the restoration of what even looks like a constitutional republic, okay? Something we should be striving for. We need mass declassification of all these major events, all right, not just the 1960s assassinations, etc. We need that, but we need it across the board. I've gotten as far back as Operation Paperclip, and I have specifically discussed 9/11 several times. I also have said I'm not holding my breath. Now, we had Rudy Giuliani on my Making Sense of the Madness show, and he had agreed with me to declassify everything regarding 9/11. Now, again, I don't think that is going to happen anytime soon. I guarantee you, when you see the raw, firsthand reports that came in from people who were eyewitnesses on the scene, especially of Flight 93, okay, and other events, you're going to find out some startling things. All right? Like it's already on the record that these people who did their, initial reports of Flight 93 didn't even think a plane had crashed there. We've played those videos numerous times. It has not been debunked, okay? So there's a lot there. Now, if I tell the truth about that, am all of a sudden I'm aiding a terrorist or terrorist narrative? Now, on top of that, we're going to parlay this as well, especially with what has recently happened in Syria. While this woman, okay, tells you that Al-CIAduh, okay, Al-CIAduh, went after people, the Building 7 people, the conspiracy people, so that they could run, essentially what she's alluding to is operations that are psyops and virtual false flags to help their narrative and have the people questioning 9/11 see the Al-Qaeda terrorists as revolutionaries. Never happened. Never happened. You can't tell me one person that looks at 9/11 truth and looks at Building 7 in particular, which is in this clip, that then somehow, some way flips that around and says Al-Qaeda's the good guy. Now, in retrospect, our government and its officials do that all the time, right? Like pre-Al-Qaeda, when you look at the Mujahideen, they were deemed the freedom fighters when they were our allies. Now, that's where we're going to come into modern day Syria, where we're going to play a clip where it's not even debatable. The guy that they have installed, first of all, not just Al-Qaeda, okay? Somebody that had been put on a terror list, had been caught by the United States, had went to a camp run by U.S. intelligence, gets let go, then immediately hooks up with al-Baghdadi, another guy who's in both U.S. and Israeli custody, before going out and all of a sudden, dicka-dicka-doo, he's the main bad guy. This guy gets $60,000 for his first operation from al-Baghdadi. And now he's about to lead Syria. But again, when Al-Qaeda was in Syria and al-Nusra, right, they're the allies of the United States. So, like, who's actually helping Al-CIAduh? And we're going to, before we go to the clip, I just want to remind everybody that we're doing these broadcasts now multiple times a day, $5, $10, $15. It does mean the world to me. The Buy Me Coffee and other links are down below. But please, just share the information. This is an important topic. I want to remind everybody, before we go to this video, that to this day, that official narrative of 9/11 is responsible for our entire foreign and domestic policy and the evisceration of our Constitution beyond what most people can imagine. Okay? And the institution of not just the Patriot Act, not just Homeland Security, but fusion centers and the empowerment of a techno-fascistic surveillance society, the likes of which people still cannot get a grasp on. All of that is like full-throttled 9/11 style with their narrative. And if you look at Building 7, their narrative crumbles. It falls to the ground. It's adios amigo. All right? So I'm going to stop my ranting and raving for right now. We're going to play this clip on the Sean Ryan show. And look, I'm not even here to weigh in on Sean Ryan. Again, intelligence. I would say this, from what I've watched of Sean Ryan, it hasn't been a lot, but I've watched, obviously a lot of clips have gone viral. He's very pro-military industrial complex. And also, there's been a huge focus, not just on the UAP or UFO issue, but that issue in kind of the realm of what? Extraterrestrial entities. All right? And we all know how Jason Bermas feels about that narrative. So take that for what you will. Here is Little Miss CIA telling you question Building 7? You must love Al-Qaeda. Just ridiculousness.
Al-Qaeda found the Building 7 conspiracy stuff fascinating. And they have actually had discussions about how we could do ruses and bring in the Building 7 people to make them blame their government more. So they're actually even looking at our conspiracies and targeting those people for the homeland attack. So basically, those people almost back Al-Qaeda as revolutionaries and rebels and heroes against our government. Al-Qaeda.
No one's ever done that. That's not real. Instead, the revolutionaries and whatever supported by our government. I mean, I want to focus on how much of a lie and how disgusting that is. How repulsive that is. Okay? First of all, we have seen the outward shift of Homeland Security, which they told the American people was for the bad Muslim terrorists. Right? All overseas. That was the big fear. Oh, it's not for you. It was always for you. Always for you. And then that shift, again, goes even deeper in that era of not only Homeland Security, but as I said, the fusion centers. And now you get things like the MIAC report leaked all the way back in 2008. Okay? Where they were targeting Ron Paul supporters. They were targeting people that watched Loose Change and Zeitgeist and had a Gadsden flag, right? That had a Christian identity. All those things. That's reality sauce. And they've always talked about what? These domestic terrorists since then. And that's ramped up more and more and more to the point now you got the head of the Department of Homeland Security telling you it's white supremacy and domestic terror that are the biggest threats to the homeland. And they've always wanted to couple this narrative of, jihadi ISIS / Al-Qaeda working with that type of domestic terrorist. It's La La Land. It's fantasy world. It's not real. When people see Building 7, they don't become sympathetic to Al-Qaeda because our government's bad. They start understanding that organizations like Al-CIAduh and ISIS are created by factions within our government via black operations. And not just our government, but private institutions. Okay? Cells, networks, assets, front groups, cutouts. That's what people start to realize. They realize that the media is also a part of that. And most people have figured out that the mainstream media at this point is really a part of that. They better get hip quick. That there's plenty in the podcast world and the alternatives that's pushing the same crap-a-lappa. And I'm not going to lie. This one fired me up. Okay? Fired me up. Okay? Now, before we get to this clip right here, okay, and again, take this for what you will, but I just want to establish what they're telling you as the regular narrative. I want you to thumbs this video up, subscribe, share, and if you can, I posted this, you can follow me over at X. We are literally, I think, let's bring it up. You'll be able to see it right here. We are 6 people away, just 6 followers away from breaking 46K. Can we get 20 people with an X account over there to give me a follow? We can't seem to grow on any other platform, so it would be nice. All right, here we go. Let's play this clip. Now, again, I can't reiterate it enough. Who's really supporting Al-Qaeda? Okay? Who's really working with these people as allies? Here we go.
Joining us now, correspondent and executive producer of PBS Frontline's film The Jihadist, Martin Smith. Martin, it's really good to have you. You interviewed Al-Jilani, who's the head of one of the rebel groups that came in and took a lot of credit for ousting Bashar al-Assad, and is somebody that could be one of the next leaders, or if not one of the main leaders, of Syria. Can you tell me who he is and what his motivations are?
He's got a very interesting history. He was put on the terrorist list in 2013. Prior to that, he was a young man who, after the U.S. invasion of Iraq, decided to go up and fight the Americans. And After not so long, he was put into an American prison camp that worked as something like a jihadi university. When he got out, he went to Baghdadi, the head of ISIS, and said, look, I want to fight in Syria. And he got Baghdadi to give him $60,000 to go across the border with 6 men and begin to build an Al-Qaeda faction in northern Syria. I met him in 2021. He was already in the process of rebranding himself. He had broken, as Richard said in the previous segment, he had broken with Al-Qaeda, he had broken with Baghdadi. In fact, when I was there, he was fighting. He was having skirmishes with their cells that were around Idlib province. So he struck me as serious. I entered a room with a bunch of armed guards wearing ski masks. I sat there for a few minutes, and in he walked, and we talked for many hours. And I told him, look, I want to do an interview, and I want to ask you anything I want, and you can say whatever you want. So that was the beginning. A few days later, we were off in another undisclosed location and did a long interview with him.
So let me just pause it right there. Now, that's PBS, and look, I'm not denying the credibility or the motivation of this journalist, but obviously this guy becomes, think about the timeline he just told you, okay? He begins to get media attention, all right, after being in a U.S. prison camp for reform that doesn't reform him. Instead, it gives him access to the lead terrorist, at least in our media, at the time, and his money for operations. Now, again, Al-Qaeda and al-Nusra had been working with U.S. interests in Syria on the record. Not a question. Okay? And then somehow, some way, starts breaking off, as he's getting media attention, and he's part of the people that eventually overthrow Syria, which has the fingerprints of our intelligence network all over it. All over it. I mean, my goodness. So, you know what? We're going to wrap up this clip. Again, thumbs it up, subscribe, and share. I really do appreciate you guys. Would not be able to do it without you. But just think about the absurd narrative that we just heard from this CIA agent about Building 7 and daring to get into the truth that in a spook house in the middle of New York City, a spook house, the largest CIA operational base outside of Langley, the Office for the Secret Service, the Securities and Exchange Commission, go down the line, spook house implodes on itself, not hit by a plane? Come on, man. Come on, man.
You ask him about what he believes in and what sort of rule he would impose. You talk to him about Sharia law. He's done some interviews since, and correspondents have asked him about what the future holds and what sort of society he envisions for Syria. I'm going to play the latest one. This is from Sky News. It's an interview that was done today, actually, with Jolani about what's going to happen next, what Syria will look like. Let's listen.
Their fears are unnecessary, God willing. The country will be rebuilt. The fear was from the presence of the regime. The country is moving towards development and reconstruction. It's going towards stability. People are exhausted from war. So the country isn't ready for another one, and it's not going to get into another one. The source of our fears was from the Iranian militias, Hezbollah, and the regime which committed the massacres we are seeing today. So their removal is the solution for Syria. The current situation won't allow for a return to panic.
All right, so he was being asked, what's the message to foreign countries who are worried or concerned? Do you find him believable? Is he going to be somebody who's going to work with the West, perhaps try to stabilize the region? Or are we in for another version of Syria from 10 years ago?
Well, I'll turn that question around. Will the West work with him? Right now, he's being attacked by Israel, and it's unclear whether or not he can even assuage the various groups, minorities within Syria, the Alawites, the Kurds, Christians and others. So he's got his work cut out for him. If I had advice to him, I'd say you should quit now and turn over the control of Syria to your Salvation Government, as he calls it.
I mean, I like how he flipped the script right there. I think that actually was the correct thing to do, right? Forget about, her assertion that, it's going to be Syria from 10 years ago. Look, go back to Syria from 15 years ago before we get involved with the CIA and Operation Timber Sycamore. That's what we should be looking at. But no. We're going to get into that realm. I don't know whether this guy's going to stay in power, right? It really is going to depend on whether or not he's going to play ball, not only with the regime that's in power now, but the incoming administration is extremely pro-Israeli as well. And you notice he mentioned Israel. Israel's taken what Israel wants from there. Remember, Trump gave them the Golan Heights region, had no business doing it. It's not his to give. But again, that is actually a practical concern and a legitimate criticism of the administration and its foreign policy. And a lot of people, for some reason, just aren't able to do that. I am. That concerns me. Do I want stability in the Middle East? You betcha. Am I concerned that we got what appears to be a U.S. intel-backed spook, at the helm and somebody that may or may not realize what's about to come? Yeah. But has this happened, dozens of times, not just in the Middle East, but South American regions and African regions? You bet your ass it has. You bet your ass it has. Folks, I'm going to wrap this one up. Again, can't do it without you. $5, $10, $15 does mean the world to me. We got the Buy Me a Coffee. PayPal's another great way. Watching on the Rockfin, if you have a premium subscription over there, also a great way to support the content. Remember, I want you to share not only these videos and let people know about the information, but the documentary films I really do feel have held up over the years. They're all free of charge. Loose Change Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, and Shade the Motion Picture. You can watch them on the platform you're watching the broadcast on right now. And come on, let's put me up over the marker over on X, the free speech platform. Folks, not about left or right. Always about right and wrong. Absolutely love you. Couldn't do it without you. We'll see you on the flip side.